Mickey Mouse. Love him or hate him, he's an American icon. Critics see him as a mascot for corporate greed. Due to Disney's often squeaky clean depiction of him, the devouring nature of the company, and being the cause of a delayed public domain, which is thankfully now active. Fans, however, know a different mouse.
Mickey's a good-natured guy trying to do his best. He can be many things. A wizard, a video game character, a detective, and a musketeer. In a way, he's a lot like Superman. Just because he's nice doesn't make him boring.
It's all in the execution, and a country that really understands Mickey Mouse is Italy. Italy absolutely loves Mickey Mouse. You think Batman and Superman reaching issue 1000 is impressive? Italy's Mickey Mouse comic, Topolino, has reached over 3,600 issues. The love for Mickey is crystal clear. That's why the first Italian Mickey Mouse story arc sends him to hell.
Welcome to hell, motherfucker!
Yes, Mickey's Inferno, inspired by Dante's Inferno, is considered a Topolino classic. Why? Well, let me be your Virgil, and we shall enter the gates of history. Abandon all gnome, ye who enter here. Our tale starts with the Nerbini publishing house. Father and son, Giuseppe and Mario Nerbini, would publish Italian-made adventure comics. But there was an issue that was starting to come up. American comic books were coming over to Italy. Unlike his Italian comic competitors, Mario Nerbini, now full owner of Nerbini Publishing House due to his father's death, decided, if you can't beat him, join him.
Which led to the first Italian Mickey Mouse comic on December 31st, 1932.
Which then got the publisher in legal hot water because they didn't have the rights. So they decided to come up with the legally distinct Topolino. You see, it's different because there's a space in between.
Also, this new mouse might be a little problematic in its design.
That only lasted a very short while because they would secure the rights from King Feature Syndicate and Disney, kicking Topolino with a space to the curb and bringing in Topolino without a space back. From then on, Nerbini Publishing House would translate and publish Floyd Gottfredson's Mickey Mouse strips from issue 7 onwards. The success caught the eye of the larger publisher, Mondadori, who then bought Nerbini Publishing House. However, there would be a slight catch to this success. You see, fascism was on the rise in Italy. Mussolini's Ministry of Pop Culture had a stranglehold on literature in the country. Its leader, Dino Alfieri, made the case to Mussolini that American comic books should be banned. And they were, with the exception of Mickey Mouse. Why? Well, Mussolini's own children were Mickey Mouse fans. And Mondadori and Mario Nerbini were fellow fascists who published papers that supported Mussolini. But they couldn't get away with it long. February 3rd, 1942 would be the last time Italy would see a Mickey Mouse strip, to be replaced with another Mickey Mouse ripoff, Topolino.
Totally just as good as Mickey Mouse. It doesn't look god-awful at all.
Italy would be spared of Topolino by December 21st, 1943, after the Italian Civil War and several armistices disrupted the fascist newspaper system. Mondadori would come back in 1945 in a post-World War II Italy. Mondadori and Mario Nerbini seem to have reformed from their fascist ways, probably because Mussolini and his party were executed, and a wrecked Italy would find a sorely missed figure, Topolino. Not Topolino with a space, or fascist Topolino, Mickey Mouse Topolino. It would continue its translation of Floyd Gottfredson's Mickey Mouse strips, and Carl Barks' Donald Duck. But in 1949, they became a little more ambitious. Why keep Mickey Mouse in a newspaper strip when you can sell him as a comic book? The strip would be cancelled with the new and improved 100-page revamped Topolino comic book. It still published Floyd Gottfredson and Carl Barks, but an issue arose. They were running out of material. Enter Guido Martina, a documentary filmmaker who somehow found his way into translating Mickey Mouse comics.
The material arriving from America was no longer sufficient to guarantee the punctual release of Mickey Mouse, and so I approached Mondadori and had the director ask me if I felt like writing new stories, practically inventing original adventures of Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck. Sure that I felt like it, I replied, and I immediately got to work on the first story, Mickey Mouse's Inferno.
This is the first true Italian Mickey Mouse story. No fascist replacements, no copyright shenanigans, it's all Disney-approved Mickey Mouse. Not just Disney the company, Walt Disney himself saw this and approved of it.
Even more out of character is that Guido Martina actually was credited for his work, since he put a lot into following the rhyming of the original story.
Ironically, with the Disney Corporation's obsession with what Walt would have wanted, the comic wasn't translated into English until 2006, with Walt Disney's Comics and Stories issue 666 by Gemstone Publishing. Of course, that numbering is too good to pass up. The comic wouldn't be translated again until 2017, with Papercut's own translation. And so far, never again. So, is it worth breaking the Disney Vault to pull this story out? Well, let's dive into Damnation to find out.
We start with Goofy and Mickey finishing their play about Dante's Inferno.
Well, that was a short book. See you next time!
No. You see, as they're taking their bows, Pete signals his hypnotist colleague to hypnotize them into thinking they're in fact Dante and Virgil. Ahem! Dante and Virgil. It works, and it turns a congratulations from Minnie into an awkward situation when Mickey thinks Minnie as Beatrice. She runs them off out of annoyance and anger, not knowing the severity of their situation. They wind up at a library and open, what else, Dante's Inferno. They're overcome with sleep and enter a nightmare mirroring the book. Mickey finds himself in the dark wood before hell. Goofy finds Mickey and bicycles him to the entrance to hell. However, they're stopped by a lion dressed like a pig. I say, hold it right there, trespassers! A police lion? Is this Inferno or Zootopia?
So on to the Gemstone version.
Yeah, the Papercuts version has dialogue that I can only describe as heavy. The Gemstone translation is painstakingly trying to have the same rhythm as the original text, and then Papercuts' translation is filled with jokes that just weigh down the flow. It's off-putting seeing a joke about Twitter in a book from 1949. Another huge difference is in Gemstones, Mickey and Goofy remember who they are immediately, and in Papercuts they keep that Dante-Virgil bit rolling for a while.
I'm not sure which is more faithful, but I found the Gemstone version to be better. At least in my opinion.
Anyway, Mickey socks the lion cop in the nose, and the two pals hop into a boat and venture into Limbo, the first circle of hell. In Dante's, this would be reserved for the unchristened. In Mickey's, this is for boring school subjects. By the way, I haven't mentioned it yet, but now that we're in hell, my god, Angelo Bioletto's art in this comic is incredible. Cartoony enough to still be a Mickey Mouse comic, but still truly hellish. You're gonna see some great stuff, just you wait. But in this circle, we have teachers who teach their subjects, like math, history, and philosophy, without gusto, so they are punished by their students. Moving on to the next circle, we get the third circle in Dante's.
Wait. Well, back to the Papercuts version. In Dante's, the second circle is lust, which I don't think they're going to use in this. But they do have a good change.
We go from Dante being judgy towards some hot historical people and punishing them by making it windy, to Mickey witnessing the sin of vanity. The punishment for this moral crime, a barbershop. Oh, that's nice. That pours boiling tar, electrocutes, severs, and saws its victims. Jesus, that fits so much better then.
Oh, I got down a lot so the wind will eternally flow through my luxurious locks. Now we descend into the third circle, and the paper cuts and gemstone versions are pretty much the same from this point forward. Besides the dialogue, of course.
And finally, the sins of the third circle line up with gluttony. Dante's is kind of lame because it rains a lot and Cerberus eviscerates the gluttons, while Mickey's is much more fitting with a flood of milk and honey where the sinful are force-fed food for all eternity. Pretty gross. But this is merely stuffing for the ravenous hounds to feed upon the hellbound. Mickey and Goofy run, but Goofy ends up out of the fire and into a frying pan. A demon is cooking a meal for Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Oh my god, what are they doing there? They don't deserve that! They do earn their way into heaven, though, by freeing Goofy and turning on the demon chef. They move on to the next circle, and... oh no, Pluto's here too.
I guess all dogs don't go to heaven, because that's not a Disney property.
But they slip him some angel food cake and he floats to heaven too.
The circle sins line up again, with the fourth being greed. And yet again, Mickey has a better punishment.
Dante decided the worst thing that the greedy can do is roll rocks at each other. Now, physical labor is one of the worst things you can do to a rich, lazy bastard, but it lacks irony, doesn't it? Well, the hoarders of wealth learned that green paper is good fire tinder, and fuels their eternal execution at the stake. Hardcore, Mickey. Hardcore. Now on to the fifth circle, the river Styx. And this is the first circle without a change. The sin and punishment in each line up. Wrath and sullen. The angry brawl eternally in a river. Alongside them, the sullen complain and grump in the same river. We come to the entrance to the sixth circle, and it has Disneyland. Oh wait, I'm sorry. The city of Dis. They can't get in and are attacked by Furies like the original, but are finally allowed to pass thanks to an angel's interference. Now, while we don't have a literal angel in Mickey's, we do have Dumbo. Poor guy, he really shouldn't be down here. He's not a literal angel, but he is a little one. We descend into the sixth circle and find a collection of burning coffins. Again, like Dante's original. But despite the punishment being the same, the sin is quite different. We go from heretics to the more common anger. Of course, Pete's down here with other Disney characters who deserve this, like Brer Fox or Brer Bear from Song of the South. Splash Mountain. From a project that doesn't exist. Along with Clarabelle Cow and Dopey from Snow White. Why are they down here at all, let alone in this circle? And why is Dopey talking? And of course, the one who gets damned for anger is Donald Duck, who threatens to chase Mickey and Goofy throughout hell, which he'll commit to. The duo managed to get away from Donald and enter the seventh circle. For Dante, it was violence. For Mickey, well, we'll get there. Since this is a children's comic about hell, we are skipping the River of Blood guarded by archer centaurs representing violence against neighbors. Which sounds like a metal band album, I know. Instead, we move on to the forest.
Which originally is, how do I put this? A forest a dumbass YouTuber would gladly film in.
Thankfully, it distances itself from something that honestly makes me want to punch Dante Alighieri into something more fitting for this version. You see, these trees are made up of tricksters who get cut down and built into desks by Geppetto. Not sure why he's down here, but his voice actor definitely is. Then naughty school children in the form of donkeys smash them in Doc's classroom, where the demons will collect the pieces and plant the splinters to be regrown into the same trees.
Now, I know what this looks like. This is the third circle with school children in hell. Does Guido Martina also hate kids like Pinocchio's creator? Well, no. Dante's Inferno is one of, if not the most influential book in the Italian literature canon, so of course it would have been taught to school children. Dwight R. Decker, the translator of issue 66, had this to say in the afterword.
That the assumed audience was schoolboys is a little obvious, with so many punishments along the way devoted to teachers and their students.
students could get a sick thrill of seeing their teachers being tortured in cartoonishly cruel ways. But turnabout is fair play. It forces the young audience to ask themselves, is this a bad teacher or am I a bad kid? And eventually we will see both being punished equally in the coming circles. And this is no different from Dante's spitefulness in his own Inferno. Well, maybe a little different, because while these are in good fun, Dante damned popes he didn't like, Greeks who he also didn't like, and a guy who slapped him in the face once. But now, let's return to the circle.
The cycle of wooden carnage is interrupted by the blue fairy descending from the heavens, and asks that they be good permanently so they may return to Earth. Even Donald gets a chance if he keeps his temper in check. Honest John has other plans. He tries to lead the kids astray once again, but Mickey has Jiminy Cricket on hand. Again, I must ask, what is he doing down here? Jimmy, of course, is a moral paragon and sets the kids on the right path. Everyone ascends except Mickey, Goofy, Honest John, and Gideon. Mickey and Goofy must complete their journey, and the other duo want to cause more mischief below. So our heroes tread deeper into the seventh circle, where they find the abominable sands. Eternally the sky rains fire on the blasphemous, gay people, and loan sharks.
Hey, as a blasphemous loan shark, I resent that, Dante.
Here we find one of Mickey's old teachers who I'll admit acts a little fruity. However, this teacher's sin was hypocrisy, never practicing the morals he taught students. Now he must run forever across the burning sands. To the Malbolge, the eighth circle of hell. Dante and Virgil enter this circle of many very specific versions of fraud on the back of Guryan, the monster of fraud. Mickey and Goofy enter that same circle of fraud by hitching a ride on the reluctant dragon.
Oh, actually, I know why he's down here. He's a scab! Dante has a lot of fraud down here. Too many to mention right now, and some that I really don't want to mention, because the 14th century poet, Dante, is shockingly not very woke. The Malbolge is also a bit lengthy to list individually, so we'll go through some highlights.
Scorching hot chocolate pools for the Swindlers, which features Brer Rabbit and soon Brer Bear. Kids who fake sick must get a taste of their own medicine. Literally. The Big Bad Wolf blowing up in more of a graphic than usual display with the addition of getting shot with a shotgun. And lying newsmen licking the grounds of hell forever, still stating their lies and hacking up their truths when approached. Finally, we reach the ninth circle, Cositus, representing treachery in both. Usually, there would lie the devil himself. So you'd think we get Chernabog, right? Fantasia was out by this time. No, you're mistaken. The devil is a multi-headed Donald. One head is Donald's good side, and the other his bad. Mickey and Goofy reach for a fire hose and spray the bad side away, ensuring their pal's salvation. After that, like Dante, we see a frozen lake with heads bobbing out. Dante has famous traitors like Mordred and Judas Iscariot down here. Who does Mickey meet? A paid-off referee who gets to gnaw on a soccer ball for all eternity. Damn, the Italians are really passionate about football. The ball bursting sends the now trio plummeting into the final section.
The ultimate traitors will be revealed here. Could it be the evil queen from Snow White? The coachman from Pinocchio? Brom Bones, perhaps? Or even the hunter from Bambi? Nope, and nope.
It is in fact Guido Martina and Angelo Bioletto, the creators of the comic that we've been reading. Dante himself is accusing them of betraying him by making a mockery of his work. But Mickey feels he must defend them, for they've brought Dante's old story to a new generation. Dante is surprised and allows them to leave.
But before we close this comic for good, there is a special message from the original Italian version that I'd like to read. So hopefully Google Translate gets this right.
Oh, my homeland, lift up your weary head. Smile again, O beautiful among the beautiful. O mother of mothers, dry your tears. May the sky light up for you with shining flames to light your way again, so that you may see the stars again. God protect you, Italy. So be it.
Italy was ravaged after World War II, rebuilding from a fascist regime, a rebellion, and a war. And Guido Martina saw this firsthand.
Then the war came and I ended up in Libya, then in Poland, from where I was deported to a Nazi concentration camp in Austria. After the liberation, I returned home on foot, penniless. I spent terrible days in appalling poverty, and I managed to get back in touch with Mondadori, who entrusted me with the translation of the Mickey Mouse stories. And so I fortunately started working again.
Guido Martina was forced into the Italian military, was abandoned by his government, and then imprisoned in the worst hell that humanity has ever created, only to walk back to his home on foot and see it in shambles. Writing the first Italian Mickey Mouse story wasn't just a job for him. He got to vent his rightful rage at the people who ruined his country, but also provide children with hope through an icon that the fascist regime tried to rob them of, as well as try to steal their childhood.
This comic isn't just, oh, Mickey Mouse went to hell. This comic is showing a country that's healing. The adults who've witnessed firsthand the atrocities of what humanity can cause are imparting to a new generation that Mussolini is not what Italy is.
Italy is a country that makes art. Art that stands as an inspiration for trillions of other artists around the world for centuries before World War II and centuries after World War II. This fascist stint is not what Italy is about. It's about its people, its culture. Embrace it so that you may see the stars again.